Hello. I hope you had a happy Christmas and a good New Year. I'm a bit late with my Christmas tale because I got something for Christmas that I really didn't want, norovirus. Fortunately, I have now recovered. So here we go. A Christmas tale. The cage door opened. He slowly and painfully limped in, and the door closed behind him. Barbed wire had cut deep into his back, and he longed to lick it, but was prevented by the cone around his neck. He was not a pretty sight. He had a large dressing on his back. His fur had been shaved off around it, and his back leg and paw were heavily bandaged. "Who are you?" came a cheeky voice from the next cage. "I'm Pearl, and I'm going to be adopted today. What's wrong with you? Why have you got that thing on your head?" She didn't wait for an answer. "Before we separated, my mum gave me some tips about being adopted. Watch, listen and learn. They should be here any minute." Sure enough, a mum and dad and their little daughter were ushered into the room. Pearl began an elaborate welcome, bouncing up and down and making cute puppy noises. Then she jumped up, putting her two front paws on the cage door and wagging her tail so hard it looked as if it could fly off. "Look, Mummy, look, Daddy, she's beautiful and she likes us. Oh, please, please, can we have her?" And then they were gone. He tried to rest his head on his paws, but the cone got in the way. He settled on his side on the mat and went to sleep. Then he heard voices. Would you believe it? 3 days till Christmas, and they've all been fostered or adopted except this one. And what do we know about him? He was found abandoned in the woods. The vet says he's just the right age to be a lockdown puppy. Happened a lot. As soon as everyone went back to work and school after COVID, the poor dogs were left alone all day. They chewed slippers and made a mess everywhere, and eventually they were thrown out. Okay, let's give him a name. He was found in a wood, so how about Woody? The man with the clipboard made some notes. He approached the cage and was just saying, "Well, Woody, what are we going to do with you over Christmas?" when a buzzer sounded. A few minutes later, his colleague returned. He was not alone. "This is Mr. and Mrs. Harper, and they would like to adopt a dog." Woody did not stir, having rated his chances of adoption at 0. "He's not a stray. We believe he had a family, but unfortunately he's not chipped. He's been to the vet and been thoroughly checked." Woody shivered at the thought of it. "And the vet said he would make a full recovery. He seems to be a quiet, kind, obedient dog. Could be just what you're looking for." "We'll foster him over Christmas, and if that works out, we'll keep him," said the lady. Some paperwork was completed, and then Woody sat in the back of the car with Mrs. Harper, who was called Jackie. "Joe," she said to her husband, "what name shall we give him?" "Why don't we just keep him Woody? After all, we do want him to come on long walks in the woods with us." The house was warm and brightly lit. The wood burner in the lounge made it feel very cosy. There were bright decorations everywhere, and in the corner stood a wonderful Christmas tree. "Where's Simba?" asked Jackie, looking around. There was movement on one of the sofas, and then Simba, a beautiful black cat with white paws, stood in the middle of the room, eyeing Woody with great suspicion. "Why don't you say hello to Woody?" suggested Jackie. Instead, Simba ignored her and with exaggerated pride weaved her way around the legs of Joe and Jackie. Once alone, Simba stood squarely in front of Woody, her tail moving rhythmically from side to side. She arched her back and hissed at Woody. "This is my house. You keep out of my way." Then, with claws extended, she battered Woody hard on the end of the nose, almost knocking him off balance. Then Simba moved towards her bed. It was soft and fluffy and stood on one side of the chimney breast. She walked majestically, her head held high, stepped in, twirled a few times, then settled down, resting her head on the soft, fluffy rim. Woody heard his name being called and obediently made his way into the kitchen where Jackie was waiting. She opened the back door, ushered him into the back garden and closed the door. Woody was anxious, hoping that this was nothing more than a comfort break. The door reopened and Jackie patted him on the head, opened the door of the utility room and pointing to a cardboard box which contained an old blanket, explained that this was his temporary bed until they decided if they wanted to keep him. Over the next 2 days, Joe and Jackie were busy with last-minute preparations for Christmas. Even Simba was not in the limelight. Once or twice, to her enormous irritation, she was shooed out of the way. There were candles, cards, twinkling lights and decorations and a huge pile of presents under the tree. Most of the time Woody stayed in the utility room, but he didn't mind. He was starting to feel so much better. He went for a walk every day with Joe and was given delicious food when he got back. His cone was taken off, and he tried very hard not to scratch or bite his itchy healing wounds, for he was warned that the cone would be put back on and there would be another visit to the vet. Christmas Day arrived, and with it aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents and grandchildren. Simba held court, dutifully chasing after streamers or curling up and purring on someone's lap. Woody watched from the corner of the room. The aromas from the kitchen were mouth-watering, overwhelming, and Woody had to use all his self-control to stay calm in the corner and not jump up and down begging for food. It had snowed 2 days before, followed by heavy frost. Woody looked outside and saw that it had started to snow again. The dining room table had been extended and was surrounded by a great assortment of chairs. "Almost ready," came the cry from the kitchen, and Joe said, "Better let Simba and Woody out before we get started." So the back door opened and both dog and cat were sent into the garden. Woody completed his business and then stood and watched Simba. She was clearly showing off. She jumped on top of a dustbin and then onto the fence. Delicately, she made her way towards the back of the garden. Then she launched herself with a very impressive leap onto the pitched roof of the shed. The roof was covered with snow, and underneath the snow was ice. Simba slithered to the bottom of the roof and then flew through the air, landing with a thud in the snow. She lay there immobile. Woody was horrified. He approached cautiously, and when he could see that she wasn't pretending, he was filled with dread. He ran to the back door and barked, a high-pitched bark signalling that there was trouble. From inside came the excited shouts of children, adults all talking at once, loud popping noises, glasses clinking together. No one heard him and no one came. Woody ran back to where the still lifeless Simba lay in the snow. He stood for a moment and then carefully lay down, gently surrounding her body. After a few minutes, the cat stirred. Relief ran through Woody, and instinctively he began to lick her face. Simba opened her eyes, and when everything came into focus, she looked startled and tried to stand up. She fell back down, and Woody nudged close to give her some warmth. A few minutes later, Simba struggled to her feet and wobbled towards the cat flap. Woody walked to the back door and sat down, shivering on the step. Inside, he could hear some loud meowing from Simba, and then the back door opened and Jackie said, "Oh my goodness, Woody, we forgot about you. Come on in. Here's a big bowl of Christmas dinner." Most of the presents had already been opened, and there was wrapping paper and empty boxes everywhere in the lounge, "Come on, you two, come and open your presents," Jackie called to Woody and Simba. Simba got toys and a new scratching post. Then it was Woody's turn. He got a rubber bone that squeaked, a rope to tug on and a ball to chase and fetch. "And here," said Joe, "is a special present for the latest member of the family." A little thrill shot through Woody. Latest member of the family. His heart swelled. There was more to come. He was dancing from paw to paw and wagging his tail enthusiastically as the final package was opened. And there it was, a beautiful dark brown fluffy bed with pictures of paws and bones all around the rim. Cautiously, Woody stepped in. He glanced at Simba to see her reaction as the bed seemed to indicate that he would be staying. Simba was sitting quietly with an inscrutable look on her face. Woody's bed was placed on the other side of the chimney breast to Simba's. He sat there in the soft, fluffy bed in blissful contentment. Jackie and Joe were busy clearing up. There were at least 2 sackfuls of paper. When the lounge was tidy, they went to the kitchen and Woody could hear the clink of glasses being returned to the cupboard. "What a truly wonderful day," Jackie said to Joe. "Lights out and time for bed," said Joe. He stood in the doorway of the lounge. "Jackie," he said in an urgent whisper, "come and see this." There in Woody's bed, the cat and the dog lay curled up together, fast asleep. "Oh my, it's a miracle," whispered Jackie. "How is this possible?" "It's the spirit of Christmas," said Joe as he turned out the lights. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful new year. But this is all for now. Bye.